In the shadowed folds of West Virginia's Appalachian Mountains lies a town where the fog doesn't merely veil the earth. It guards secrets too sinister to speak aloud. Black Hollow, a name that hums with dread, is a place where a single taste of sausage can chain your soul to a curse older than the bones of the hills. Welcome to a legend that will sink its teeth into your mind and refuse to let go. The Curse of the Blood Sausage. This is a tale of betrayal, vengeance, and a desperate clawing for redemption that will make you question the food on your table and the shadows in your neighbor's eyes. I'm your host, and I've ventured deep into dusty records and whispered tales to bring you this story. Not for cheap thrills, but to uncover the monsters we birth when we bury our sins. Grab a blanket, dim the lights, and hit subscribe, because this journey into Black Hollow's heart will haunt you long after the darkness falls. What lies beneath the fog? You're about to find out. Deep in the jagged embrace of West Virginia's Appalachian Mountains lies a place the world has forgotten. A town shrouded in fog so dense it feels like a living thing, wrapping its cold fingers around your heart. This is Black Hollow, a name that tastes like dread on the tongues of those who dare speak it. Here, the air is heavy with secrets, and the ground itself seems to pulse with something ancient, something hungry. Tonight, we unravel a legend that will crawl under your skin and linger like a nightmare you can't shake. The Curse of the Blood Sausage. A story of betrayal, vengeance, and a darkness that feeds on the unsuspecting. Settle in, lock your doors, and don't touch that plate of food. You might not like what's in it. Black Hollow is no accident of geography. Nestled in a claustrophobic valley, it's a labyrinth of twisting dirt trails, choked by towering pines that blot out the sun. The fog here, called the Hollow's Breath by those who know its ways, doesn't just obscure, it deceives. It swallows footsteps, muffles screams, and turns the familiar into a maze of shadows. The people of Black Hollow are a hardy breed. Farmers wresting life from barren soil, hunters stalking game through untamed wilds, and artisans clinging to traditions as old as the mountains. At the heart of those traditions is their pride, their obsession, their curse. The blood sausage. Known as hollow sausage, this isn't some grocery store knockoff. It's a delicacy woven into the town's soul. A dark, smoky creation bursting with flavors that haunt your senses. Wild herbs, a hint of juniper, and an elusive, almost forbidden tang that defies explanation. It's served at every milestone, births, deaths, and the eerie glow of the winter market. Its taste is a siren's call, pulling you back for more. I tasted it once, at a backwoods fair in Virginia, and its primal richness still lingers in my memory. But after what I've uncovered about Black Hollow, I'd sooner starve than let it touch my lips again. This sausage is more than sustenance. It's a pact, a ritual guarded by a select few families who treat their recipes like sacred relics. None embodied this legacy more than Margaret Maggie Stone. At 62, Maggie was a specter of a woman. Gaunt, with silver hair pulled tight as a noose, her face etched with lines like a map of sorrow. Her eyes, sharp and unyielding, seemed to pierce your soul, as if she knew your darkest secrets. She lived in a crumbling cabin at the valley's edge, its warped boards creaking under the weight of time. Her husband, Thomas, and son, Jacob, were long gone, torn apart by a bear during a hunt. Or so the townsfolk said, their voices faltering when they spoke of it. Maggie was a ghost among the living, seen only at the winter market, where her sausage stall drew crowds like moths to a flame. But Maggie wasn't just revered. She was dreaded. Whispers followed her like the fog itself. Her cabin sat in a pocket of unnatural cold, where the mist hung heavier, and the night carried sounds no one could explain. The rhythmic thud of a cleaver, footsteps circling in the dark, and faint, anguished cries that vanished on the wind. Then there were the vanishings. Every few years, someone would disappear. A weary traveler seeking refuge, a merchant who lingered too long at Maggie's door. The townsfolk blamed the mountain's perils, but their eyes betrayed them, darting nervously toward Maggie's cabin. Doubt festered in Black Hollow, a poison no one dared name. Let's pause here. Small towns like this thrive on trust, or so they claim. You know your neighbor's routines, their stories, or you think you do. I grew up in a hamlet much like Black Hollow, a nowhere town in Ohio where everyone knew everyone's business. We had our own ghost stories, a spectral figure by the creek, a cursed barn that burned every decade. But what if the real threat wasn't a phantom, but the person pouring your coffee, smiling as they handed you a plate? That's the terror Black Hollow carried, a fear that gnawed at their pride in Maggie's sausage like rot in the roots of a tree. To understand Maggie, we must dig into Black Hollow's past. Founded in 1810 by settlers escaping the world's judgment, the town was a sanctuary for the devout, built on ironclad rules and a faith that bordered on fanaticism. The church elders held absolute sway, their moral code a blade that cut deep. Outsiders were shunned, and those who strayed faced banishment or worse. The Stone family, Maggie's kin, were among the first to settle here, their sausage recipe a cornerstone of the town's identity. But as we'll uncover, that recipe wasn't born of skill alone. It was forged in blood, a secret that would stain Black Hollow for generations. Enter Clara Hayes, the town's keeper of secrets. At 78, Clara was a living archive, her home a shrine of yellow journals and photographs curling at the edges. She'd known Maggie since they were girls, and even then, she sensed a shadow over her friend. Maggie was never quite here, Clara once confided to a traveler, her voice low. She carried something heavy, something old, like a debt she could never pay. Clara's journals, which we'll unearth later, hold fragments of the truth, hints of a tragedy that began before Maggie's birth, a wound that would bleed into the present. What lies beneath Black Hollow's fog? What turned Maggie Stone into a figure of both reverence and dread? And what does the blood sausage hide? A delicacy that binds the town in ways they cannot yet fathom. The answers are coming, but they'll cost you your peace. Stay with us, because the shadows of Black Hollow are only beginning to stir, and the truth is hungrier than you know. Winter in Black Hollow is a merciless predator. Icy gales howl through the valley, snow buries the world in silence, and the fog, the hollow's breath, twists the landscape into a spectral labyrinth where even the bravest lose their way. Yet, in this frozen desolation, the town comes alive for one fleeting moment, the winter market. Imagine a flickering oasis of warmth, wooden stalls glowing under the dim light of kerosene lanterns, piled high with hand-stitched quilts, jars of amber moonshine, and slabs of smoked venison. The air hums with the scent of roasting meat and pine, laughter cutting through the mist like a fragile thread. For a few days, Black Hollow is a magnet, pulling in outsiders from as far as Charleston, all eager to taste its secrets. But beneath the festive glow, something sinister stirs, and this market will mark the beginning of a nightmare that will choke the town's soul. It's December 1995, and the winter market is a chaotic symphony. Locals in patched coats barter with sharp-eyed traders, while curious tourists weave through the crowd, their cameras flashing at the rustic charm. At the heart of it all is Maggie Stone's stall, a shrine to Black Hollow's pride. Her blood sausages gleam like dark jewels under the lantern light, their smoky, herbaceous aroma curling through the air, irresistible as a whispered promise. Maggie stands behind her counter, her movements deliberate, her smile a thin mask that never reaches her eyes. She exchanges pleasantries with customers, her voice low and measured, but there's a weight to her presence, as if the fog itself parts to make way for her. To the townsfolk, she's a legend. To the valley, she's something else entirely. Let's anchor this in the real world. In the 1990s, rural towns across America clung to their traditions to survive, turning local crafts or foods into lifelines. I once visited a village in North Carolina famous for its apple cider, where the whole community rallied around it like a sacred ritual. It was their identity, their shield against a changing world. But what happens when that shield hides a blade? In Black Hollow, the blood sausage was more than a delicacy. It was a blindfold, and the town was about to learn how deadly their devotion could be. On the market's second day, for children ventured into the fog, their laughter bright against the gray. Tommy Miller, 10, led his siblings Bobby, 9, and Sarah, 7, along with their cousin Ellie Carter, 6, bundled in oversized jackets and wool scarves. They were a picture of innocence, their cheeks flushed from the cold. Their mission was simple: visit Maggie Stone's cabin. Maggie had a reputation at the market, handing out candies to children, hard, crimson sweets with a wild berry flavor and an odd, metallic aftertaste that lingered like a secret. The kids had heard the stories, seen the way adults lowered their voices when they spoke of Maggie, but the promise of candy was stronger than fear. They trudged through the snow, their giggles fading into the mist. Maggie opened her door, her smile sharp as a blade. She pressed candies into their hands, and the door clicked shut. That was the last Black Hollow saw of them. The market's bustle masked their absence at first. Children dart through crowds. Parents lose themselves in haggling or the warmth of spiced cider. But by the third day, the town's heart skipped a beat. John Miller, Tommy's father, scoured the woods, his shouts swallowed by the pines. Mary Carter, Ellie's mother, pounded on doors, her eyes wild with a mother's terror. The trail, faint as it was, pointed to Maggie Stone's cabin. Whispers began to coil through the market, venomous and unstoppable. Old fears resurfaced, tales of wanderers who never returned, of strange shadows dancing in Maggie's windows under a moonless sky. Frank Dawson, a grizzled hunter with scars to match his stories, spoke of a night he'd seen Maggie dragging a sack through the snow, its contents shifting in a way that made his blood run cold. Henry Brooks, the town's mechanic, recalled a drifter named Sam Reed, who'd worked for Maggie one winter. Sam had muttered about a red liquid she mixed into her sausage meat, his face pale as he spoke. Days later, Sam was found dead, frozen in a ditch, his death dismissed as a drunkard's misstep. Now, those stories felt less like gossip and more like warnings carved in the dark. Enter Laura Bennett, a journalist from Charleston, 32, with a nose for stories that others ignored. She'd come to Black Hollow to write a fluffy piece on the winter market for a regional magazine. But the town's undercurrent of unease caught her attention. There was a hollowness here, she later wrote, not just in the name, but in the way people avoided certain questions. Laura noticed how the townsfolk praised Maggie's sausage but clammed up when her name came up. Her curiosity, sharp as a blade, will drive her to uncover truths the town has buried. But it will also pull her into a danger she can't yet imagine. Another thread weaves into the tale. Emily Miller, Tommy's older sister, 16, consumed by guilt for not watching her siblings. Her grief is a fire, burning away her fear. She begins to linger near Maggie's cabin, watching from the shadows, her heart pounding with a mix of dread and determination. Emily's quiet rebellion will soon collide with the town's secrets, and her choices will ripple through Black Hollow like a stone in a still pond. What did Maggie Stone do with those children? Why does her sausage hold such power over the town? And what lies hidden in the fog that guards her cabin? The winter market is over, but its shadow is only growing darker. Stay with us, because the truth is creeping closer, and it's hungrier than you can imagine. The fog over Black Hollow thickens, as if the valley itself is holding its breath. 5 days after the children vanished at the winter market, the town is a cauldron of fear, its warmth snuffed out by a cold that seeps into the bones. The laughter of the market is gone, replaced by hushed voices and sidelong glances. In the community hall, a weathered structure of warped wood and groaning beams, the townsfolk gather under the flicker of oil lamps, their shadows dancing like ghosts on the walls. They've come to confront the unthinkable, that Maggie Stone, the keeper of their cherished blood sausage, might be the monster stealing their children, their neighbors, their peace. But the truth is a blade, and Black Hollow isn't ready for how deeply it will cut. Tonight, we peel back the layers of the town's buried sins, and what we find will make you question the stories your own hometown tells. The meeting is a storm of raw emotion. Frank Dawson, the hunter, stands with clenched fists, recounting the night he saw Maggie drag a twitching sack through the snow, his voice cracking as he describes the unnatural way it moved. Mary Carter, Ellie's mother, clutches a crumpled photo of her daughter, her sobs cutting through the murmurs. Clara Hayes, the town's historian, rises slowly, her frail frame belying the weight of her words. She speaks of a pattern, chilling in its clarity. Every few years, someone disappears, always around the winter market, and always with Maggie Stone lurking nearby. The room falls silent, the air thick with a truth no one wants to name. Maggie, their pride, their tradition, is no longer just a recluse. She's a shadow they can't escape. Let's ground this in reality. Small towns are breeding grounds for rumors, stories that take root in the cracks of everyday life. In my Ohio hometown, we had a haunted orchard where kids swore they heard whispers. It was nonsense, but it shaped how we moved through the world, wary of certain places, certain names. In Black Hollow, those whispers were screams muffled by pride. The blood sausage was their legacy, their shield against the world's judgment. To question Maggie was to question themselves, and that was a door they'd kept locked for generations. But doors, once cracked, swing wide, and Black Hollow was about to face what lay behind. Clara Hayes opens her journals, their pages brittle as old bones, and shares a story that chills the room. In 1947, a young woman named Eliza Hart was branded a sinner by Black Hollow's church elders. Pregnant out of wedlock, she was locked in a wooden cage in the town square, left to starve under the town's scornful gaze. On the third night, Eliza gave birth to a daughter, Margaret, Maggie, and died, her screams fading into the fog. The baby was spirited away by a kind midwife, raised in the shadows of the town's shame. Clara's voice trembles as she speaks. That cruelty didn't die with Eliza. It grew, and Maggie carried it. Her journals hint at a darkness older than Maggie herself, a wound in Black Hollow's soul that refuses to heal. Laura Bennett, the journalist from Charleston, sits in the back, her notebook filling with frantic scribbles. The meeting is a goldmine for her story, but it's Clara's tale that hooks her. After the crowd disperses, she corners Clara, pressing for details. The town buried Eliza's story, Clara warns, her eyes sharp. But buried things don't stay down. They claw their way back. Laura digs deeper, combing through church records that confirm Eliza's punishment and whisper of other injustices. Exiles, punishments, lives erased from Black Hollow's history. Her outsider's lens sees what the town cannot. Maggie's darkness is no accident. It's a legacy, and Laura's pursuit of it will soon make her a target in a town that guards its secrets with blood. Meanwhile, Emily Miller, Tommy's 16-year-old sister, is waging her own war. Guilt gnaws at her, a relentless beast, for letting her siblings slip away. One moonless night, she creeps to Maggie's cabin, her breath visible in the frigid air. Through a frost-covered window, she glimpses Maggie hunched over a steaming pot, stirring a liquid that gleams red and reeks of copper, a scent that turns her stomach. Maggie's face is lit by the fire, her expression not human but something older, hungrier. Emily flees, her heart pounding, but she tells no one, convinced the town would dismiss her as a grieving child. Her secret burns inside her, a spark that will soon ignite a reckoning. The county sheriff arrives, a gruff man with no patience for ghost stories. His search of Maggie's cabin yields nothing but order. Shelves of labeled spices, a glowing wood stove, and strings of blood sausage hanging like grim garlands. Maggie greets him with a calm that borders on mockery, offering a sausage sample with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. The deputies leave empty-handed, their frustration palpable. But Laura, unconvinced by the sheriff's haste, begins shadowing Maggie, noting her nocturnal treks into the woods, where the fog seems to follow her like a loyal hound. What is Maggie hiding in those shadowed pines? And why does the town cling to her, even as the evidence mounts? What did Emily see in that pot? What sins lie buried in Black Hollow's past, feeding Maggie's darkness? And how far will Laura go to unearth a truth the town would kill to keep hidden? The fog is closing in, and the answers are waiting, just out of reach but sharp enough to draw blood. Stay with us because the shadows are growing longer, and they're watching. Black Hollow is a town on its knees, its heart torn open by fear and suspicion. The fog, that ever-present specter, coils tighter around the valley, as if guarding a secret too vile to escape. 7 days after the disappearance of Tommy, Bobby, Sarah, and Ellie, the winter market's warmth is a distant memory, replaced by a dread that clings like damp rot. The townsfolk no longer trust the ground they walk on, nor the neighbor standing beside them. Maggie Stone, once their pride, is now their terror, her name a curse whispered in the dark. But the truth is no longer content to hide. A storm is coming, literal and otherwise, and it will rip Black Hollow's facade to shreds, exposing a horror that will haunt the valley forever. Brace yourself, because what we uncover tonight isn't just a nightmare. It's a mirror to the darkest corners of what humans are capable of. On the seventh day, the heavens unleash their fury. A tempest roars through Black Hollow, its winds shrieking like a chorus of the damned, rain lashing the earth in sheets, and lightning cracking the sky open to reveal the valley's wounds. The storm's wrath finds Maggie's cabin, tearing a gash in its sagging roof and exposing the kitchen to the elements. By morning, the air is sharp with the scent of wet wood and something fouler, something metallic. Frank Dawson, the hunter, gathers a handful of townsfolk, John Miller among them, his face hollow with grief, and they approach Maggie's cabin to assess the damage. What they find isn't a broken home. It's a gateway to hell. Beneath the kitchen floor, concealed by a trapdoor weathered to blend with the boards, lies a cellar. The sheriff's team, recalled in haste, descends with flashlights that tremble in their hands. The beams cut through the darkness, revealing a scene that sears itself into their souls. Dozens of burlap sacks, stained and heavy, stacked like grotesque trophies. Over 40 in all, each one a tomb. The deputies open them, and the truth spills out. Human remains, some reduced to polished bones, others grotesquely fresh, glistening with blood. Among the horror are scraps of clothing. A child's puffy jacket, a tiny knit scarf, the unmistakable shoes of Tommy, Bobby, Sarah, and Ellie. The blood sausage, Black Hollow's pride, was no product of livestock. It was crafted from the flesh of the lost, prepared with a precision that whispers of something beyond human, something unholy. Let's anchor this in the real world, because the unthinkable isn't as far away as we'd like. In 1998, a Canadian pig farmer named Robert Picton was arrested after human remains were found on his property, some processed with chilling care. In 2003, a butcher in Kazakhstan was caught selling human meat disguised as lamb. These atrocities hide behind the ordinary, cloaked in the trust we give to those who feed us. Maggie's cellar is Black Hollow's judgment, a reckoning for the blind faith they placed in her sausage, a truth that strips the town bare and leaves it shivering in the cold. The sheriff's team labors through the night, their faces pale as they catalog the remains. Some sacks hold bones yellowed with age, suggesting Maggie's crimes stretch back decades, a legacy of slaughter spanning generations. Others contain flesh so recent it weeps red, the air thick with the stench of copper and decay. A young deputy, barely 22, stumbles outside and retches into the snow, his flashlight clattering to the ground. The townsfolk cluster beyond the cabin, a silent mob under the storm's dying clouds. Some weep, their cries swallowed by the wind. Others clutch makeshift weapons, their eyes burning with a call for vengeance. But Maggie is gone, vanished into the tempest like a wraith, leaving only her cursed sausage and a town choking on its shame. Laura Bennett, the journalist, is there, her camera clicking as she captures the chaos. Her lens frames the cellar's mouth, the townsfolk's anguish, the deputy's grim work. Her article, when it's published, will drag Black Hollow into the national spotlight, but it will also paint a target on her back. In the cabin, she finds a journal tucked behind a loose board, its pages filled with jagged symbols and phrases like blood binding that pulse with menace. The discovery pulls her deeper into the mystery, even as whispered warnings from the townsfolk urge her to flee. Laura's pursuit of the truth is a thread that will either unravel the curse or bind her to it. Emily Miller, Tommy's sister, breaks her silence, confessing to her father what she saw through Maggie's window. The red liquid, the unnatural hunger in Maggie's eyes. Her words echo the stories of Sam Reed, the drifter who spoke of a similar liquid before his death in the frozen creek. The connection fuels a chilling suspicion. The sausage isn't just gruesome. It's a vessel, a curse that ties the town to Maggie's will. Emily's courage, born of grief, is a spark in the dark, but it's also a beacon, drawing the valley's shadows closer. Where has Maggie fled? What power fuels her atrocities? And how deep does this curse run? The cellar is only the beginning, a glimpse of a darkness that's been growing in Black Hollow for generations. The storm may have passed, but a worse one is brewing, and it's coming for everyone who's tasted the sausage. Stay with us, because the truth is no longer buried. It's awake, and it's ravenous. Black Hollow is a town unmoored, its soul fractured by the horrors unearthed in Maggie Stone's cellar. The fog, that eternal guardian of the valley's secrets, hangs heavier now, as if mourning the innocence it can no longer shield. Those who've eaten Maggie's blood sausage, Black Hollow's pride, its curse, fall one by one, their bodies racked by seizures, blood seeping from their mouths as if something inside is clawing its way out. Within weeks, 12 lie dead, their final moments marked by half-eaten sausages, as if the curse itself demanded one last bite. The town is a graveyard of trust, its people cowering in their homes, whispering prayers against a darkness they can no longer deny. Tonight, we plunge into the heart of Maggie's evil, uncovering a truth so profane it will make you fear the shadows in your own soul. The question isn't just what Maggie is, it's what Black Hollow made her, and whether anything can stop her. The town turns to Father Michael Reed, a priest whose quiet demeanor hides a reputation for confronting the uncanny. At 54, with silver-streaked hair and eyes that have seen too much, Father Michael is no stranger to the valley's whispers. He's banished lesser evils, cursed heirlooms, restless spirits. But what he finds in Black Hollow is no mere ghost. Digging through the church's dusty archives, he unearths writings that chill his blood. The ravings of Ezekiel Crow, a preacher exiled in the 1940s for dabbling in forbidden rites. Crow's notes speak of blood binding, a ritual that traps a soul in a body sustained by human flesh, a pact with forces older than the mountains. Maggie Stone, Father Michael realizes, is no ordinary killer. She is a revenant, a demon clad in human skin, her existence a blasphemy against creation itself. To understand Maggie, we must return to 1947, to the tragedy of Eliza Hart. A seamstress of 22, Eliza was condemned by Black Hollow's church elders for bearing a child out of wedlock. Locked in a cage in the town square, she endured starvation and mockery, her pleas drowned by the fog. On the third night, she gave birth to Margaret, Maggie, and died, her life bleeding out on the cold stone. The infant was saved by a midwife's mercy, raised in secret, but the town's cruelty left a scar deeper than flesh. Maggie grew up knowing her mother's fate, her heart a furnace of rage. At 20, a weak heart claimed her life, but her hatred burned too fiercely to fade. Ezekiel Crow, drawn to her pain like a vulture, used the blood-binding ritual to anchor her soul, forging a creature that fed on vengeance and flesh. Each kill, each sausage, was an offering to Eliza's memory, a grotesque sacrament that made Maggie stronger, her curse a chain binding Black Hollow to its sins. Let's reflect on this. Revenge is a fire that consumes, but it's born from wounds we understand. I've read of vendettas in remote Sicilian villages, where a single betrayal sparked decades of bloodshed. Maggie's story is that pain magnified, twisted by occult forces into something monstrous. But Black Hollow is not innocent. Their treatment of Eliza sowed the seeds of this horror, their silence nurturing it for generations. It's a warning. Our cruelties ripple, and sometimes they return as nightmares. What sins lie buried in your own community, waiting to claw their way free? Father Michael resolves to end the revenant's reign. In the town square, under a sky bruised with clouds, he prepares a ritual. A circle of holy water, crosses forged from iron, and a silver mirror said to expose a demon's true form. The townsfolk gather, clutching rosaries, their breaths visible in the frigid air, as he chants prayers that tremble with power. But Maggie is no mere spirit. Her form, a grotesque mosaic of stolen flesh, emerges from the fog, her laughter a blade that cuts through hope. She hurls Father Michael to the ground, his cross shattering, her voice a howl of triumph that echoes through the valley. The ritual fails, and Black Hollow is left defenseless, its savior broken, its faith crumbling. Laura Bennett, undaunted, presses deeper into the mystery. In Maggie's journal, she decodes references to a blood heart, a relic that anchors Maggie's power. The cryptic symbols point to the woods, to a place where the fog is thickest and the ground feels alive. Laura's search for this relic is a desperate gamble, a race against a town unraveling under Maggie's wrath. Her courage, like a candle in a storm, lights the way, but it also draws the revenant's gaze. What is the blood heart, and can it be destroyed before Maggie claims the valley entirely? What force sustains Maggie's unholy existence? How can a town fight a demon born of its own sins? And what will Laura find in the woods, where the fog hides more than paths? The curse is tightening its grip, and Black Hollow's time is running out. Stay with us, because the darkness is no longer content to whisper. It's screaming, and it knows your name.
Black Hollow teeters on the edge of oblivion, its streets silent save for the mournful wail of the wind through the pines. Maggie Stone, the revenant, stalks the fog, her laughter a blade that carves fear into every heart. The blood sausage, once a symbol of pride, is now a death sentence, its curse claiming lives with every bite. As the town braces for a final stand, we pause to look beyond the valley, to the real world, where horrors eerily echo Black Hollow's nightmare. These are not just stories, they're warnings, proof that the line between human and monster is thinner than we dare admit. Tonight, we hold a mirror to Maggie's darkness, and what we see will make you question the trust you place in the ordinary. But beware, the truth is a hungry thing, and it's watching you as closely as you're watching it. Let's step into the shadows of history, where real monsters wore human faces. First, consider Ed Gain, the quiet farmer from 1950s Wisconsin. By day, he was a neighbor, unremarkable, blending into Plainfield's rhythm. By night, he crafted horrors from human remains. Lampshades, belts, a suit of skin. His crimes hidden behind a shy smile. Like Maggie, Gain used the mundane to mask his atrocities, his town blind to the evil in their midst. Black Hollow's faith in Maggie's sausage mirrors Plainfield's trust in Gain, a reminder that the most dangerous monsters don't howl. They nod and wave. Next, Andrei Chikatilo, the Soviet predator who roamed Rostov in the 1970s and 80s. He lured over 50 victims, many children, with promises of candy or a warm meal, his kindly demeanor a trap. His community couldn't fathom such evil, not from a man who blended so seamlessly into their world. Maggie's crimson candies, with their strange metallic tang, echo Chikatilo's bait, a chilling parallel that shows how predators exploit the innocence we take for granted. In Black Hollow, those candies were a lure, and the children paid the price. Then there's Jim Jones, the charismatic preacher of the 1970s, who led over 900 followers to their deaths in Jonestown, Guyana. His weapon wasn't a knife but a promise, salvation, community, a better world. Behind his sermons lurked madness, his charisma a mask for control. Maggie's blood sausage, revered as a tradition, was her own form of charisma, binding Black Hollow to her will. Jones and Maggie both wielded devotion as a weapon, turning trust into a noose. What traditions in your own life might hide a darker purpose? Finally, Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, who murdered dozens of women in 1980s Washington while living as a mild-mannered truck painter. His neighbors saw a family man, not a predator, their denial letting him hunt for years. Black Hollow's refusal to see Maggie's darkness, despite the whispers, the vanishings, parallels this blindness. Ridgway's crimes thrived in the ordinary, just as Maggie's cellar hid beneath a kitchen of spices and warmth. It's a lesson. The signs are always there, if we dare to look. These stories aren't relics. They're alive, breathing in every community that ignores its shadows. I've seen it in my own life, in a small town where a harmless local was later exposed as a thief. His charm a shield we all bought into. Black Hollow's sin was its pride, its refusal to question the sausage that defined them. But there's a deeper truth here. Every town has its Eliza heart, a wrong buried under the weight of tradition. In Black Hollow, Eliza's punishment birthed Maggie, a wound that festered into a demon. This isn't just about monsters. It's about accountability. What injustices lie buried in your world, quietly feeding something you can't yet see? Let's reflect on Maggie's story as a metaphor. She's not just a revenant. She's the consequence of silence, of a community that chose comfort over truth. I've studied towns torn apart by secrets, a factory poisoning a river, a scandal hushed by powerful families. Black Hollow's curse began with Eliza, but it grew because the town looked away. It's a call to action. Face the cracks in your own community, the stories no one tells. Because if you don't, those cracks widen, and something like Maggie might crawl through. What does this mean for Black Hollow now? The town is crumbling, its people paralyzed as Maggie's power grows. Laura Bennett clutches a journal that hints at a blood heart, a relic that could break the curse or doom her. Emily Miller's courage burns brighter, but it's a beacon in a valley of shadows. And the fog, ever watchful, hides something worse than Maggie, a force that's been waiting for this moment. The real world shows us how close this horror is, but Black Hollow's fight is far from over. Can they face their sins before the valley swallows them whole? Stay with us, because the darkness is closing in, and it's not done feeding. Black Hollow is a battlefield, its air thick with the stench of fear and the weight of a curse that refuses to relent. Maggie Stone, the revenant, prowls the valley, her grotesque form a mockery of life, her laughter a death knell that chills the blood. The town's survivors huddle in the community hall, their prayers barely audible over the howling wind, their hope a flickering ember in a sea of despair. The blood sausage's curse has claimed lives, shattered trust, and unearthed sins that bind Black Hollow to its doom. Yet, in this darkest hour, a light breaks through, not of this world, but from beyond. Tonight, we witness a clash of heaven and hell, a moment that will either save Black Hollow or consign it to eternal shadow. Hold fast, because what unfolds now is no mere story. It's a testament to the power of redemption and the cost of facing the monsters we've made. The town is unraveling, but two souls refuse to surrender. Laura Bennett, the journalist, clutches Ezekiel Crow's journal, its pages a map to salvation or ruin. Decoding its cryptic symbols, she uncovers a reference to the blood heart, a pulsating relic that anchors Maggie's unholy power. With Emily Miller, Tommy's 16-year-old sister, whose grief has forged her into a warrior, Laura ventures into the woods where the fog is a living thing, coiling around them like a serpent. In a hidden cave, they find it, a grotesque mass of flesh, throbbing with a rhythm that feels like the valley's heartbeat. Its surface writhes, as if alive with the souls it's consumed. With trembling hands, they douse it in kerosene and set it ablaze. The heart screams, a sound that splits the sky, and Maggie's power falters, her form weakening in the distance. But the cost is steep. The cave trembles, and the fog grows hungrier, as if something older stirs in response. In the town square, the storm reaches its zenith, clouds churning like a cauldron of wrath. Then, a miracle pierces the chaos. A golden light, pure and searing, tears through the sky, bathing Black Hollow in a warmth it hasn't known for generations. From the heavens descends the Archangel Michael, his armor gleaming like molten starlight, his sword a blaze of divine fire that hums with righteous fury. His presence is a thunderclap of awe, his eyes burning with both judgment and mercy. The townsfolk fall to their knees, their rosaries trembling in their hands, as he faces Maggie, her patchwork body writhing in defiance, her black energy a vortex of hate. Margaret Stone, Michael's voice booms, a chorus of celestial power. Your vengeance has twisted your soul into abomination. Release your hatred, or face the Creator's justice. Maggie snarls, her form swelling with stolen flesh, and summons a maelstrom of dark power, shadows that lash like whips. The square becomes a battlefield, the ground cracking, the fog recoiling from the Archangel's light. Maggie's strength is immense, fed by decades of blood and betrayal, but Michael is unrelenting. His sword cleaves through her darkness, each strike a hymn of purification. With a final, earth-shaking blow, he reduces her to ash, her scream fading into the wind. The curse shatters, the valley exhaling as if freed from a chokehold. Maggie Stone is no more. Let's ground this in the human heart. The Archangel Michael is a symbol across faiths. Christianity's warrior, Judaism's protector. A beacon of hope against overwhelming odds. In Black Hollow, he's the spark of resilience, the refusal to let darkness win. I've seen this spark in real life. Communities rising from floods, families rebuilding after loss. It's not always divine. It's the stubborn will to heal, to fight. Black Hollow's miracle is a myth, but its truth is universal. Even in our darkest moments, redemption is possible if we face our sins head-on. The town begins to heal, though the scars run deep. The remains from Maggie's cellar are laid to rest in a mass funeral, the valley ringing with sobs and prayers. John and Mary Miller, parents of the lost children, plant a memorial garden, its flowers a fragile promise of renewal. Laura's article, published in a national magazine, exposes Black Hollow's horror, turning the town into a cautionary tale whispered across the country. Emily, forever changed, vows to live boldly in honor of her siblings, her courage a light that pierces the fog. The valley is quiet now, but questions linger. What woke the blood heart's power, and could its ashes still whisper in the dark? What did Laura and Emily unleash when they burned the blood heart? Has Maggie's curse truly ended, or does the valley hold deeper secrets? Black Hollow has faced its demon, but the path to redemption is long, and the fog is never truly still. Stay with us, because the story isn't over. The valley has one last truth to reveal, and it's waiting in the light. The fog over Black Hollow has lifted, as if the valley itself has exhaled a long-held breath. The curse of Maggie Stone, the revenant who fed on the town's flesh and soul, is broken, her ashes scattered by the divine fire of the Archangel Michael. The blood sausage, once the heart of Black Hollow's pride, is now a forbidden memory, its name unspoken, its taste a ghost on the tongue. The town stands at a crossroads, its scars raw but its spirit stirring with the faint pulse of hope. Tonight, we walk through the ashes of Black Hollow's nightmare and witness its rebirth as St. Michael's Vale, a place forever marked by its past, yet determined to forge a future. But even in the light of redemption, shadows linger, whispering questions that may never be answered. Stay with us, because this isn't just a new beginning. It's a testament to what it means to survive the dark. The town sheds its cursed name, rechristening itself St. Michael's Vale in honor of the Archangel who banished Maggie's evil. Where the community hall once stood, a stone church rises, its steeple piercing the sky like a vow to never forget. A small chapel, dedicated to Father Michael Reed, bears a simple plaque, "He faced the shadow to save us all." The winter market, once a stage for horror, transforms into a festival of renewal. Its stalls filled with wildflowers, handmade candles, and foods that carry no trace of the valley's bloody legacy. The air hums with cautious laughter, the scent of pine and bread replacing the acrid memory of sausage. St. Michael's Vale is no longer a secret. It's a beacon, drawing pilgrims who seek solace in its story of survival. The memorial garden, planted by John and Mary Miller, blooms defiantly against the valley's harsh winters, its roses and lilies a living tribute to Tommy, Bobby, Sarah, Ellie, and the countless others lost to Maggie's cellar. Locals tend it with reverence, their hands in the soil a quiet act of atonement. Clara Hayes, now 80, publishes her journals, their pages a raw chronicle of the town's sins and salvation. Titled The Valley's Truth, her work becomes a touchstone for historians and storytellers, preserving Black Hollow's lessons for generations. Laura Bennett's book, The Hollow's Reckoning, sparks debates across the country, its unflinching account of the curse forcing readers to confront the secrets in their own communities. Emily Miller, now 17, channels her grief into purpose, training to become a counselor to help others heal from trauma, her siblings' memory a fire that guides her path. St. Michael's Vale is more than a town. It's a parable, etched into the Appalachian soul. A folklorist I met in West Virginia called it a story of breaking chains, of choosing light over shadow. Around campfires, the tale of the blood sausage is whispered, not as a ghost story, but as a mirror reflecting human flaws and resilience. Pilgrims leave offerings at the church, letters, stones, prayers, each one a pledge to face their own truths. The valley, once a prison of fog and fear, now feels alive, its winds carrying a promise rather than a threat. Yet, the pines still whisper at night, and the memorial garden's soil occasionally shifts, as if stirred by an unseen hand. Let's reflect on what this means. Redemption isn't erasure. It's a choice to build atop the ruins. I've seen it in towns rebuilt after fires, in families mending after betrayal. St. Michael's Vale doesn't forget Maggie or Eliza Hart. It honors them by refusing to repeat their pain. The town's transformation is a call to us all. Acknowledge the wounds in your world, the traditions that harm rather than heal. St. Michael's Vale chose truth, and in doing so, found a strength that no curse could break. But questions linger, like shadows at the edge of the garden. What power fueled the blood heart? And did its destruction truly sever the valley's ties to the dark? Is Maggie's curse gone, or does it sleep, waiting for another wound to wake it? The fog may be gone, but the valley holds its breath, and St. Michael's Vale knows better than to trust the quiet. The story is almost complete, but one final truth waits to be unveiled. A lesson that will haunt you long after the fire dies. Stay with us, because the light of redemption casts long shadows, and they're moving. The valley of St. Michael's Vale lies quiet now, its fog a memory, its wounds softened by the slow bloom of redemption. The curse of the blood sausage, born from Eliza Hart's pain and forged in Maggie Stone's vengeance, is gone, scattered to the winds by divine fire and human courage. Yet, the pines still murmur at dusk, and the memorial garden's flowers sway as if nudged by unseen hands. This isn't just a story to shiver by. It's a mirror held to our own lives, reflecting the choices we make, the secrets we bury, and the strength we find when we face them. Tonight, we close the book on Black Hollow's nightmare, but its lessons will cling to you like frost on a winter morning. Listen closely, because the truth of the curse of the blood sausage isn't locked in a valley. It's in you, waiting to be confronted. What does this tale teach us? It's a warning carved in blood and ash. Maggie Stone was no accident. She was a seed planted by Black Hollow's cruelty, watered by their silence. Eliza's punishment in 1947, a single act of injustice, grew into a demon that devoured the town. Every bite of that sausage was a pact, a refusal to question the traditions that bound them. But St. Michael's Vale shows us another path. Through Laura's tenacity, Emily's bravery, and the town's willingness to face its sins, they broke the curse. Redemption isn't a gift. It's a fight, won by those who dare to look into the dark and name what they see. Ask yourself, what shadows lurk in your world? What traditions do you follow without question, trusting their comfort over their cost? In my hometown, we had a harmless festival that ignored its roots in exclusion, a small sin we never challenged. Every community has its blood sausage, a pride that blinds, a secret that festers. Maybe it's a family story swept under the rug, a local custom no one questions, or an injustice you've seen but stayed silent about. Black Hollow's curse grew because no one spoke Eliza's name. St. Michael's Vale rose because they finally did. What names are you afraid to speak? This story is a call to action. When you see wrong, act, whether it's a quiet word or a loud stand. The valley teaches us that silence is fertile soil for monsters, but truth, however painful, is the blade that cuts them down. St. Michael's Vale chose compassion over vengeance, accountability over denial. They rebuilt not by forgetting, but by remembering every loss, every lesson. You have that power too. Face the cracks in your world, the places where the fog gathers. Because if you don't, something will grow there, and it won't be kind. As the firelight fades, carry this with you. The curse of the blood sausage is our story, a reminder that we are both the wound and the healer. If this tale gripped you, share it. Let it spark conversations, questions, change. Drop your own town's darkest legend in the comments. I read every one, and they fuel these journeys into the shadows. Hit that subscribe button for more stories that peel back the skin of human nature, exposing its beauty and its terror. Stay curious, stay brave, and the next time you sit down to eat, check your plate. You never know what's been served.